Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Xinyan's Laboratory, where we rock around and find out. It's been about 2 weeks since Eula's rerun, and it's pretty clear that she's not exactly the most popular character. Then again, they pulled a Yoimiya on her banner. In any case, this week's episode is going to explore possible Eula teams that you can build, with some characters that you already have lying around at home, and we're going to see which tests perform the best. So let's put Eula teams to the test. この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。In order to understand which characters are suited to be Eula's teammates, we are going to take a look at Eula's kit and role in the team. Eula is an hyper carry. Her whole kit focuses on dealing damage, and nothing else but dealing damage. She is a character that scales off of attack. Her skill applies Cryo, which is how she enables Superconduct. When you press the skill, you get 1 stack of Grim Heart, and when you hold the skill, you consume the charges and shred resistances, both physical and Cryo. Also, if 2 stacks of Grim Heart are consumed, her skill unleashes a little explosion, which is a miniature version of her burst, which also deals physical damage. Speaking of her burst, Eula's burst also has a stacking mechanic, in which every single normal attack and skill gets another charge, and by the end of a 7-second period, unleashes a huge explosion that scales off of the stacks and deals physical damage. When you're playing with Eula, you really want her burst to crit, so she is a character that is usually built with more critical rate than other characters. So, as a summary, Eula scales off of attack, she deals physical damage, and she wants high crit. This means that her possible teammates include attack buffers, burst damage buffers, cryo or pyro resonance, physical damage buffs or resistance shreds, superconduct enablers, characters that deal coordinated damage on normal attacks, and teammates that help her break some shields. This means that her possible teammates include Bennett for attack buff and Noblesse Oblige, Xinyan for her shield physical damage buff, her C4 that shreds physical resistance and helps with pyro resonance along with Bennett. Something else about Xinyan is that her C4 is very underrated. She shreds physical resistance by 15%, which is just 5% less than someone like Rosaria and Zhongli, while at the same time providing physical damage bonus and enabling pyro resonance. Unquestionable bias aside, I do believe that Xinyan can be one of the better support characters for Eula, so long as you have her in at least C4. Lisa, who is one of the few characters that shreds defense and can wield thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. Raiden Shogun, who provides burst damage buff, energy and lots of damage. Zhongli, who can help with survival and physical resistance shred. Rosaria, who can help with the cryo resonance, provides her own critical rate buff. At C6 she shreds physical damage resistance and deals a lot of damage herself. Mika, who also helps with the cryo resonance, provides physical damage buff with the stacks mechanic, provides a normal attack speed buff, and on C6 provides critical damage for physical damage. Shenhe, who also helps with the cryo resonance and provides physical and cryo damage resistance shred. And Fischl, as an alternative to Raiden Shogun, enabling superconduct, deals a lot of damage, especially at C6. Other possible teammates include Albedo for AoE damage and providing geo-resonance along with Zhongli, Sucrose for crowd control that Eula severely lacks, Yelan and Xingqiu that deal extra damage, can help with the shields, and in the case of Yelan provides a damage bonus, Nahida that provides a lot of AoE damage as well as helping with shields, Diona or even Chi-Chi as backup cryo healers if you don't have Mika, and Cookie or even Dory as electro healers that enable superconduct, and in the case of Dory, she helps with energy. It might be one of the few kinds of teams where she can be of use, and she might even be preferred to Cookie if you are using a Dendro team on the other half of the Abyss. As you could see, the list of characters is quite large. Eula isn't exactly a versatile character, she being an hyper carry after all, but even then a lot of characters can fit into her teams. So let's see some examples of which teams can be built with Eula. I'm going to start with my favorite team for Eula, this double pyro team with Xinyan. As I said on previous videos, one of the things that I like about this team is that it is one of the few cases where I can use Xinyan. Other advantages include that Bennett is a very strong character, and since the Dendro meta, he is not in such high demand as before. One downside of this team is that everyone is providing either attack or physical damage bonuses, so you need to get the critical rate and critical damage just from substats and weapon for your Eula. That makes it harder to build this team, but as I said before, it is my favorite once you get to build it. Another powerful team for Eula, and a very traditional one, is this team with Zhongli, Raiden Shogun and Rosaria. The advantage of this team is that Eula isn't the only damage dealer, and Rosaria helps a lot with up to 30% critical rate, which makes more simple to build Eulas. And you could use something like Wolf's Gravestone to make up for the lack of attack bonus that Bennett provides. And also you don't have to wail for a crit rate weapon like the Bacon of the Reed Seed, which I think won't ever be available anymore. One disadvantage of this team is that it really needs Rosaria's C6, or at least personally, I really can't tell the lack of this constellation, as this team, which is supposed to be the mathematically optimal team for Eula, doesn't achieve the same level of performance as the double pyro team that I just showed. But if you do have Rosaria's C6, try to go for this team. Another downside of this team is that it requires 2 Archons, and if you don't have Zhongli, you really can't replace him with anything. The closest substitute you can get is Xinyan, but Xinyan's shield isn't strong at all. Even if you get her to 3k defense or something like that, her shield is just paper thin. So, given that she's the only support, she won't keep the team alive, which means that other substitutes for Zhongli are actually healers. And in that case, the best substitute we have currently is Mika. Mika was definitely an underwhelming character, even on his niche. But if you can get him to C6, he can be a very suitable replacement for Bennett. Furthermore, and more importantly, Mika can open up some very interesting team building compositions. Since in my opinion, you really only need these 2 support characters for Eula, that is Mika and Raiden Shogun, which leaves an open slot for any other character that you might need for the challenge that you're facing. This is where you could slot in, for instance, your Nahida, your Yelan, your Sucrose, or any other character that you see fit. That is one very important aspect of Mika that I believe is very underrated and that not many people talk about. It is true, however, that these teams will yield a smaller damage output, and given that physical damage isn't already very favored in the meta, it isn't exactly something that you want to do. But then again, if you're watching this, maybe you just want to build Eula at any cost. In that case, do give it a try. And maybe if you're not going for a Eula constellation, do go for a Mika constellation. Another Bennett substitute that I want to mention is Lisa. Lisa can fit pretty well into this team and also makes up for Mika's lack of attack buffs. One reason that I want to talk about Bennett alternatives is that I've seen more and more people going for Bennett C6 now that both Dendro is meta, as well as more characters with infusions that cannot be overridden have been released. So maybe many of you don't have access to Bennett anymore for your Eula, and I hope that you can find this guide useful. Lastly, another team that I wanted to showcase is this double Geo team, which is directly copied from Hu Tao. The benefit of this team is that Geo Resonance provides 15% damage bonus, and that Albedo can help make up for Eula's lack of AoE. It is another very expensive team, but if you have it, do give it a try. And on the topic of cost, there are many teams that you can build with only 4 stars characters, and that they don't even need constellations, which thankfully can't even include Mika now. So don't feel obligated to spend if you want to pamper your Eula. And on the topic of spending, I quickly want to mention Eula's constellations. Since Eula won't be getting a rerun in, I don't know, another year and a half after this, do consider going for some constellations if you're interested. My only recommendations would be her C1, as it provides a very nice 30% physical damage bonus, as well as her C3, increasing her burst level by 3. If you are already at level 10, can provide a damage increase of around 25% from C2 to C3 on the explosion alone. Obviously the explosion is just a percent of Eula's damage, but it is the largest portion of Eula's damage, so it is a very considerable increase. From there on, nothing really matters until C6, and C6 I believe is too heavy of an investment to justify the jump from C3 to C6. So I wouldn't really advise to go for her C6 under any circumstance unless you really wanted to. And always remember that no constellation is really required for any character, so don't feel obligated to spend to get one. I won't do any testing in this video, because this video wasn't meant to discuss which team is the best. The intention behind this video was to explore possible teammates and team compositions to provide you with tools and knowledge for your Eula. With that in mind, that is all from the lab this week. Which are your favorite Eula team compositions? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember, the difference between just rocking around and doing science is to record it and put it on a YouTube video. See you next week!